When you share your food, you share your heart. So what's on your table this holiday season? Save on your festive feast at Kroger with delicious deals on all the holiday classics. Or wow the crowd with something new, like a quinoa stuffed butternut squash. It's sure to add a pop of color to your spread. How about a sweet potato casserole with a crunchy oat streusel topping, made with care for the sweet tooth and the savory tooth? With Kroger, fill your table with love and watch as your guests' hearts get as full as their bellies. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Chronic migraine is 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for adults with migraine with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It prevents, on average, 8 to 9 headache days a month versus 6 to 7 for placebo.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Ask your doctor and visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Looking for a pickup truck to get just about anything done? Look no further. The Chevy Silverado EV isn't just the most powerful Silverado ever, with next-level towing capability and technology. It also offers game-changing versatility with the available multi-flex midgate and tailgate, which means Silverado EV helps you carry large, bulky, and oddly shaped items up to nearly 11 feet in length. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Visit Chevrolet.com to learn more.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AEye Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AEye Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AEye Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to AEye Scouted on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Dave Hendrick, joined as always by Mr. Karl Matchett. How are you, sir?
Back in less than favourable weather conditions, but otherwise okay.
It's quite a sunny winter's day here, I must say. Not warm, but it's it's bright and it's decent. It's not too bad, but obviously not a patch on the lovely weather you experienced in Valencia recently, and far better than what Guy Drinkel is experiencing up in Iceland. Karl, Liverpool will play Newcastle tomorrow night, but before we get to that, David Ornstein, in I don't know whether it's an article or a podcast, has linked the Reds with a couple of potential summer signings. Now, before we get to them, he's also said that there is a feeling that Martin Zubimendi is now fully open to leaving Real Sociedad. He did mention it would likely be a move next summer rather than a potential for January. There's obviously been links in recent weeks from Real Madrid and Manchester City, as well as Arsenal, and the continued link to ourselves. Is Zubimendi somebody you see us going back for, or do you think that ship may have sailed and we might look elsewhere?
I mean, I don't think that they would be, stubborn about it in the way that obviously supporters are allowed and entitled to be, in terms of, like you said, no to us once, so we're never going there again. I don't think that the hierarchy would take that view. They may well go back there from a footballing perspective, but I think that the negotiations would be far more weighted towards ourselves this time, if that was the case. Obviously, there's a form issue which wasn't great from him earlier in the season. Seems to be getting a bit better now, but I must admit I've not watched La Real I don't even know how long, the last few games anyway. Probably from the perspective of him, being so keen to stay before they had their absolute strength in that regard. And now if it's being made clear only a few months after that decision that actually he's quite happy to depart, well, that suddenly puts their strength on the seller. On the buyers, not rather than the sellers. So I don't think, like I said, it would be something we'd purposely avoid just because he said no the first time, but I also think that it's given us a lot of time to consider alternatives, let's say. What about you?
I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I'd make the phone call, and if it wasn't an immediate yes, it would be, well, thanks and good luck. I wouldn't be trying to woo him again, because you spent all of last summer trying to do that and ultimately ended up not getting the player. Now, I think the onus would be on him, not to woo us, but to be immediately keen on the move. Which, to his defense, I think he was keen on the move if he was going to leave La Real last summer. But ultimately, the draw of home is what kept him there. But this summer it would be, or even in January, a phone call. And if there's even the slightest bit of hesitation, if there's even the slightest, Real, City, Arsenal, fair enough. Good luck. Enjoy those clubs. I could see him I think he'd actually be ideal for Real because they're clearly missing Toni Kroos massively this summer, or this season rather. A player that has that ability to run a game. So with that in mind, I'd kick the tires on Tchouaméni. But I think my top target would be Carlos Baleba of Brighton. I think that's probably where I'd go first, for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's played in the Premier League, so there's less of a period of settling in. Number two, his age is more favourable. Now, Zubimendi's in his mid-20s and so is Tchouaméni. So it's not like they're older players, but with Baleba, I think there's a lot more runway there. I also think with someone like Baleba, he's probably first choice at Brighton, but he's not a nailed-on every-game starter because they have so many midfield options. So I do think it would be easier to bring him in and have him in a rotation of players. Because obviously, Gravenberch is having a good season. Alexis is excellent. Dom is very good. We have Curtis. So I would rather bring in someone to add to that group where you can just look at it and say, well, any three of this five will work. It doesn't have to be that, well, this guy's playing and then it's four players for two positions. Any three of this five, whether we go Gravenberch and Baleba as a double pivot, or McAllister and Baleba, or Jones and Baleba, like they'll all work. Jones and Gravenberch we've seen work. McAllister and Gravenberch we've seen work. Gravenberch, McAllister and Curtis could also play as the 10 if we wanted them to. So we'd have a multitude of options that way. And I think even with Baleba, you could play Baleba with Gravenberch and say, right, in this game, Ryan, you're the deep one, and Baleba's going to be the box-to-box. And in the next game, Baleba's going to be the deep one, and you're going to be the box-to-box. So you'd have a lot more flexibility, I think, with a signing like him. Whereas with Tchouaméni, he's just going to be a 6. With Zubimendi, I think he would just be a 6. So I like the versatility there. I also think it might be easier to get him out of Brighton because when you look at the situation with Brighton, this past summer, spent 50 million on Matt O'Reilly and Matt Ziefer, who are both 23, 24, 25 maybe. So they were brought in at 25 million each. I think they came with the expectation that they would be starting games week in and week out. You've also got Hinchelwood, an academy player that they love. He's a central midfielder. You've got Yasin Iyari, who's been massive this season for them. He's a central midfielder. You've got Malcoy, who's out on loan this year, but they're hugely high on him, so he might come back. So I think it would be easier to convince Brighton to part with Baleba. So he'd be my number one. And my number two would probably be Lamine Camara. if we wanted someone, again, who can be a 6 or an 8 or a 10 if needed, but could come in right age profile, probably cheaper than Baliba because Monaco only paid 10 million for him, and would come in and fit into a rotation of midfielders. I think those would be the two I'd go for first.
Do you have a preference for this specific role, I suppose, but also for the varying types that you've listed there who we've either been linked with or you would like, of, shall we say, technique and power? Because we've seen, again, over recent matches, although I think the style of play has changed quite a bit since, shall we say, like peak Klopp, let's say, or even the sort of slight generation or part era before that, we've seen over the last few games and in big matches how much a powerful midfield can impact games in our favour with our style and so on. So would that be a big consideration for you as well in regards to, let's say, Zubimendi versus Baliba?
Yeah, it would be in part. Look, I love the idea of Zubimendi at the base of our midfield, running the game from there. My concern would actually be, I had this concern in the summer, and I managed to talk myself out of having it, with the idea of we'll bring in a stronger defensive left back, like if we could bring in a Hincapié type. The Zubimendi Alexis double pivot would worry me a little bit out of possession. They're both very smart defensively. They're both very small. Neither of them are hugely mobile. Like, they get about the pitch, but they don't get about the pitch very quickly. Whereas you look at, a Baliba or a Tchouameni, they just seem to eat up the ground a bit more. And the left backs that we're being linked with are more your Kirkes, your Ait Nouri, Patrick Dorgu's been linked. All excellent players. But if you've got Trent one side, and we can only hope that he stays. If you've got him one side and say Kirkes the other, I feel like you do need a bit of physical presence then in central midfield. I feel like you've got to have somebody there that's going to give Virgil and Ibu a proper dig out, which is why I would lean more towards that physical type of player rather than someone that's more, a technique type of player.
Would that in turn leave Liverpool potentially to change things around a little bit more? Because like we've had Szoboszlai and Jones, let's say, dovetailing in that sort of 10-ish role recently. If you wanted further down the line, would you then be more inclined to go more technique, movement, creativity along those lines? Because I think that they've had real success over the last sort of month, 2 months between them. One or the other has been playing really, really well at times in that role. And other teams have, I think, really struggled to cope with them physically as much as anything else. And they're both extremely good technical players.
No, I think I'd leave them. I think the only way I would look at maybe going to a creative type 10 is if we went with a Baliba type of defensive midfielder or a Tchouameni type of central midfielder and a Hincapié type, and we lost Trent. Because you'd have to make up for, like, let's just use the name that's been linked today, Xavi Simons. Xavi Simons is very lightweight and he's not particularly good off the ball. So I think if you're playing him as the 10, you're going to have something really strong behind him. And I think if Trent is gone, you do need that more. You'd need another creator in the team, because all of a sudden, even though Trent's not putting up big assist numbers this season, his pass before the pass, like the one that leads to the assist, it has been really good. We saw him play 2 outrageous passes over against City at the weekend. So I think if you were to lose Trent, you'd need to add another creative force to the team. So I think that's where you might look. But I think if you're doing that, you'd have to back it up by putting in some real strength defensively, because you have to keep the balance. And the biggest reason that the Gravenberch-McAllister pairing has worked so far this year is the presence of Szoboszlai and or Jones. Because they're, of the three in midfield, it's that role that's doing the most off-ball work. and they're doing it everywhere. They're doing it in terms of pressing. They're doing it in terms of tracking and covering. So I think you've got to strike the balance. I don't think you could just kind of look at it and go, okay, well, we're going to go with a Zubimendi, McAllister, Xavi kind of midfield, and we're going to have Trent and Kirkes and Virgil, Ibu, like the best of luck to his buddies. That's kind of the approach we took in the last 2 years under Klopp, where we completely lost our balance and we were just wide open defensively. And that would be the big concern for me. Even a Xavi, Simmons, Gravenberch, McAllister midfield would worry me in that regard.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
This is an ad from BetterHelp. BetterHelp has improved therapy, making it affordable and convenient. And now it's even better. Sign up for BetterHelp between December 3rd and 5th to get 1 free month of therapy. Take a breather from the hectic nature of the holiday season. BetterHelp can help you pause and take care of yourself. Visit BetterHelp.com between December 3rd and 5th and sign up to receive 1 free month of online therapy. That's BetterHelp.com. Valid for new U.S. customers only.
This year, Santa's bringing the power of Energizer into his workshop.
Whoa, the Energizer Bunny's got so much power.
Wait, he's powered up all the toys. I think that means we're done for the year.
I love this bunny.
He's the hardest working helper the North Pole has ever seen. And he wants all your gifts to have the power of the #1 longest lasting AA battery. So this holiday season, stock up on Santa's and the elves' favorite battery, Energizer Ultimate Lithium.
At the Home Depot, the holidays have arrived.
And so is all my family, so I'm working on keeping up with the laundry.
The Home Depot is here to help with Black Friday savings up to 40% off select appliances. Spend less time doing laundry with smart, efficient appliances from Samsung, ranked #1 in customer satisfaction.
Perfect. Less laundry time means more family time.
Get Black Friday savings now with free delivery and financing on select appliances at the Home Depot. Visit jdpower.com/awards for more details. Offer valid November 6th through December 4th. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write a million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
Yeah, fully agree. Yeah, I mean, like number 10, you know, for years and years, I've always preferred that more aggressive, real, direct runner, more of a power play almost in attack rather than the creativity schema kind of thing. I would always prefer that to let's say, the Gerrard version to the Ozil version of the number 10. That's always my preference. I've never really been a number 10 playmaker kind of
If
guy.
we could find a Kaka who combines both, then get me him.
Fine, yeah, but very rare, mate.
Very rare.
Yeah.
And I would rather, if we're bringing in that type of creator, whether it's a Xavi Simmons or in an ideal world, a Florian Wirtz, I'd rather they come in and play left wing rather than in that number 10 position, because I think you can get away with it if your winger isn't the best off-ball player.
Yeah. I think the way that we've sort of lined up now, you still get the 10. Let's refer to it as that just for ease. Performing it defensively in a really, really important way, and I wouldn't want to lose that at all. I think that's been a huge part of why we've improved this season as much as we have. Even in terms of just like resets, goal kicks for the other team, that kind of thing, you see the centre forward for us, Darwin or whoever it is, filtering slightly to the left, and Jones or Szoboszlai, whichever is the 10, will be filtering slightly to the right. And we look 4-4-2 at those times. If you've got someone who's not as athletically inclined or defensively resilient or diligent about doing their job as those kinds of players are, you immediately lose that. And that's one pass easy, straight passed out by the opposition, straight through to the second line. You've already lost perhaps up to 3 players for your defensive phase from that. It's a really simple, small thing that we do, but it makes such a difference, such a big difference. So I wouldn't really want to move away from that model, regardless of what's behind. I just do think it's interesting that, like, you see Spurs, for example, and we know about their inconsistencies, but just looking at the good side of Spurs, when they've looked at their best this season, it's been when, let's say, Sarr or Basuma are playing.
Or both.
That's what I was just about to go to. So either Sarr or Basuma, and then Kulusevski is like a real runner, and then they've got a third midfielder in there. Or more recently, we saw against Man City, for example, Basuma and Sarr, and then Maddison was the 10 ahead of them, the more technical, let's say.
Yeah.
Rather than Kulusevski being the...
But you still get Kulo out wide and drop in.
That is when they moved him outside.
Yeah, and we could do something like that if we were to move Dom to the left wing. But again, like, if we were to go with, say, Baliba and Gravenberch or Jones as a double pivot, and then Alexis as a 10, and move Dom to the left, that's, again, something I would be in favour of. I think that's a set where you get a lot of everything good. The other reason the 10 defensively is so important to us is it's like, if you look at, Sky showed this the weekend, Mo's off-ball numbers, there has been a slight drop. But it's largely because of tactical direction. Like, Arna's not asking Mo to do quite as much off the ball because we're getting a lot of that help from Dominic or Curtis. The issue, like you mentioned, like if you play a Xavi Simons as a 10 and you get played round, and like you say, it takes 3 or 4 players out of your set. Now what you're actually doing is you're putting more stress on those players because now they're having to sprint back, as opposed to being able to play at a controlled pace to shut off the opposition passes. Once that ball goes behind you, you're now obligated to sprint back. And that's going to put more physical strain on you. So even though, and like, some of them aren't going to do it, you know, some of them aren't going to give you that dig out. We see it with Dom. If Dom gets played round, he's immediately in full speed going back. Jones is exactly the same. Their first instinct, once the ball goes the wrong side of them, is to get back the other side of the ball, regardless of what it takes. You won't get that from other players, like a Xavi Simons. And Xavi Simons, like, there are merits to him, obviously. But we might as well talk about him because Ornstein has name dropped him today. He leaves me a little bit cold, Karl. Like, he's obviously a talented player. He's having a honker of a season, though, like an absolutely woeful season. But he just leaves me a little bit cold. I don't look at him in the same way I look at, you know, like, say, a Florian Wirtz or playmakers like this. I think there's talent there. I don't think there's any one thing that he's absolutely elite level at. And for the money he would cost, it's just not a move I'd be in favour of.
Was there a fee mentioned?
No, but I've seen people say that PSG will want in the region of 60 million this summer. And he'll have 2 years left on his contract. So, I mean, you could see them holding out for something in that. And I don't see him, like, if it was 35, 40 million, I could maybe get on board. I could get on board with it. You know, you could see him play maybe off the left or be a rotation option. But at 60 million for us, you're talking about someone that's coming in and starting. And I don't see that he improves our team.
No, I agree. I don't see him as a starting 11 player at all. Maybe this is one of those 12-month monitoring things where we swoop in with a year left on his contract, and that's where the interest really is, to be perfectly honest. He's talented, but I don't think he's that good. I certainly don't think he's someone I would be looking at to come in and be an immediate starter for Liverpool.
No, and the way I look at it as well is like he's owned by Paris Saint-Germain. He's 21 years of age. He's got plenty of senior experience under his belt. If he was that level of player, wouldn't he be playing for Paris Saint-Germain, who, are desperately lacking creativity
and quality?
Like, wouldn't he be in their team?
Well, I mean, Paris Saint-Germain is a bit of a tricky club to analyse, isn't it? Let's be honest. They make, shall we say, questionable decisions, especially when it comes to young talent. So let's not discount him entirely on the basis of what PSG think.
No, agreed.
But I do completely agree with you for the level that he's at right now. Like, for the club that he's at, for the league he's in, and for the international team, and for the job he has for them all, how often has he actually performed that job when it is like quite crunch for them? Not even the very biggest games he's played, but like just quite crunch at different points in the season or in competitions or in the Euros games, that kind of thing. I don't think he's there yet, to be honest. I think he's a little level under where he would hope to be, even at this stage, this age, all the rest of it. But I'd absolutely be fine with us, being in that monitoring mode, let's say, for another year. Quite often we're happy to buy players when their stock is low. Let's be fair. Gravenberch is a good example of that. So nothing wrong with another while of monitoring and just see where it is. I'm sure other players will come along at the same time, and look, between now and the end of the season, when a potential move could be made, that's quite a lot of time for Chiesa to either get his act together, get his fitness together, and show what he's capable of in the team or not as well.
Yeah, that's very fair. That is very fair. And like, I know that by the numbers, Simmons put up an impressive tally of 8 goals and 13 assists in the Bundesliga last season. But he's also quite a streaky player. And there's just a lot of games where he just doesn't turn up. And that would concern me. Now, the other player that Ornstein has mentioned is of more interest to me. But he's another player having a really poor season. That's Nico Williams of Athletic Bilbao. Now, Lucho and Cody are both playing well this season. And from a production point of view, as a left winger, if you combine them, because they're sharing that role, we are getting elite level production from the left wing position. But 2 summers ago, there was talk of Diaz being very much open to a move to Saudi Arabia. Last summer, it was very public that he was interested in going to Barcelona. He was interested in going to PSG. There's been no movement at all on a contract extension. He will turn 28 soon. And I do wonder if it's a case where Liverpool are looking at, the cost versus reward type of situation and thinking, we don't want to give him a 4-year deal or a 3-year deal because we're not sure he can sustain this. We'd rather cash in and go and get a younger left winger. And then we have that player and Cody in that position, and then we're happy again. And then maybe 12 months after that, they either move Cody on or extend him, because obviously he joined a year after Luis Diaz. What do you make of the situation with the left wingers? And if you were drawing up a list, would Nico Williams be on it? And how high on it would he be?
He'd be very high. He'd be very, very high. I'd also be expecting a very, very high bill for him as well.
Time to move? Skip the hassles of selling during the holiday season and sell your home directly to Opendoor. Request an all-cash offer in minutes, close, and get paid in days. You can even pick your close date so you can move after New Year's. Start your move at Opendoor.com or download the Opendoor app. Opendoor is represented by Opendoor Brokerage Inc., license 02061130 in California, and Opendoor Brokerage LLC in its other markets. Terms and conditions apply.
At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
This episode is brought to you by NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. There's a lot to be thankful for this season. For one, I'm thankful you can get NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV right now for only $209. It's exactly what you need as we head right into the playoffs. You can invite your friends over. Maybe you have a multi-view. You could have 4 different games, one for you, one each for the 3 other friends you invite. You can change the games around. As soon as a game, the outcome becomes pretty certain, dump that game, put in another one. I've become the multi-view master. The moment the one of the games is losing steam, I'm ready to move right in and move it for another one. Build your own multi-view. One of my favorite words. Thank yourself this holiday season. Get NFL Sunday Ticket for the rest of the NFL regular season for just $209. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Terms and embargoes apply. Device and content restrictions apply. No cancellations.
Add excitement to your holidays with Ohio Lottery Holiday Scratch-Offs, including $1 holiday cash and $5 holiday lucky times 10, or holiday bonus millions with a 200 times multiplier and a $2 million top prize. Plus, enjoy second chance drawings where you can win 10 times, 100 times, or 1,000 times the price of your ticket. Scratch-Offs make the perfect gift, and best of all, there's no wrapping required. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
In actual wide forward terms, I mean, Kvicha might be ahead of him.
Yeah.
Beyond that, off the top of my head, I can't think of oodles of others who would be.
Because Real aren't giving us Vinicius.
No.
And I think we're both in agreement. Like, Rafael Leao is a very talented footballer, but his off-ball lack of activity would be a major red flag. The inconsistencies would be a major red flag. And I also, I don't think you can play Mo and Leao in the one team unless you've got monstrous levels behind them, because you're not going to get the off-ball work from them. Because Mo, because of his age and because of the burden he carries creatively as well, and Leao, just because he just doesn't look like he's arsed most of the time. Ball goes behind him and he's putting his feet up, and others can sort that shit out.
I mean, I think that's exactly the same as what Mo has here. We don't expect all of it off Mo all the time, even though he still works back and even he sprints back and all the rest of it. We do give him that slight leeway because of what we demand of him going forward. So I think that
if Mo was leaving and you were going to say, right, we're going to bring in, let's say, Mohamed Kudus on the right, who's not going to get you the Mo goals, but he'll give you some creativity, he'll give you ball carrying, and he'll give you a ton of off-ball work. And then we're going to reorientate to get the majority of our goals off the left. Then I think Leao becomes a possibility. But even at that, that's not a pairing I'd love. I think it'd be very expensive for the pair of them as well.
And second tier, to be honest. If we're looking at ours being the absolute elite, they'd be next level down by it.
Yeah.
The only one I can think of really, other than Kvicha, that I'd put ahead of Nico right now is probably Bradley Barcola. So, if there's any kind of deal to be done with PSG, if you're talking about Diaz departing and they were meant to be interested, then I'd look at that for sure, because I do love Barcola. I think he's a really, really good player. But beyond that, I think Nico would probably be at or very near the top.
And Barcola has taken on a big burden this year at PSG, 10 goals in 13 games already in the league. Brilliant. He's kind of their main guy in attack now.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's benefited a lot in terms of the off-ball stuff of being there, trying to break into the team when it was still Mbappe et al., because he obviously had to do it to sort of get himself game time, basically. And now, although I don't think he's necessarily doing the defensive work of the team, he is absolutely taking on the attacking output. He's been excellent in that regard. So, but look, I'd be really, really happy with Nico. He's not been sensational numbers wise this season, but he's playing in a decent side. He's ball carrier far more than a goal scorer. He's always been that. He's much more of an outlet and a sort of secondary attacker, if you like. It's just that Athletics side is always quite skewed because of the obviously limitations that they have to select in each and every position. So sometimes you're going to get particular players doing particular things, but he's still tallies fairly well, sort of shots-wise and chances. Top 2/3, let's say, for both across most wing forwards. So good without being absolutely sensational over the last year in that regard. But again, you're not playing at a sensational every single week club.
No, you're not. For me, I like it would be Kavicha and then a gap to everybody else, being honest. And I do think that's a possible deal we could look at as well, because if I'm not mistaken, Antonio Conte was the manager of Spurs when Spurs tried very hard to sign him. So if Conte is keen on a Diaz, maybe there's a deal to be struck there where, we send them Diaz at a slightly inflated fee and they send back Kavicha at a slightly inflated fee. And it works for everybody's, not a Victor Osimhen type inflated fee, I will say. But, let's say they want 80 million for Kavicha and we want 60 for Diaz. If we say to them, look, you mark it down that you've given us 70 and or you mark it down that we've given you 90 and we'll mark down that you've given us 70, but we'll just give you 20 and we'll all call it quits and everybody's happy. I think Kavicha really does fit with how we play and what we want. And I think having Kavicha and Cody in the left wing rotation, well, I don't think it'd be as much of a rotation, but I think that works really well. I think that's a really strong pairing. And then you've got, whoever and Jota as the nines, Mo and Chiesa as the right wingers. Chiesa obviously can play across the board. I think I would start with him, and then, if he wasn't available, I would probably kick the tires on Barcola first and foremost, and then go to Nico, and then after that, I'd probably just say to Diaz, look, here's a new contract.
But I think a lot of Diaz's new deal sort of relies on Mo's new deal as well, right? If you've only really that you can afford to renew and up one of them, it's got to be Mo.
Yeah, it has to be Mo. It has to be Mo. So that's the two latest rumors that David Ornstein has dropped. I don't know where he's actually. I don't know if he's put it in an article or if he said it on a podcast. I think it was the Anfield Talk tweet out, or LFC Transfer Room had the Xavi Simons one, and I think the Anfield Talk had the Nico Williams one. So I assume they're in the same piece of content from Ornstein either way. Anyway, Karl Matchett, tomorrow night, Liverpool travel north to take on Newcastle. Now, if Guy Drinkle lives in Iceland and where Guy Drinkle lives is below where we're going tomorrow night, Liverpool are heading to the Arctic Circle to take on Newcastle United. A Newcastle team that have not been particularly good this season and are currently sitting in 11th place in the Premier League. After 13 games, they have won 5, drawn 4, lost 4, only scored 14, which isn't great, but they've only conceded 14, which is I think joint 4th best in the division. I think it's us, then Forest and United on 13, and then them, Arsenal and Chelsea on 14, and Spurs on 14. So defensively, they haven't been bad. They haven't been great, but they haven't been bad. But in attack, they've been poor. And if we look at their fixtures, they were very lucky to beat Southampton on the opening day. Fabian Schär sent off early. They got absolutely battered, but Southampton missed a bunch of chances.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.